Good morning, Peter Racy here, Queensland Maritime Museum YouTube channel. In the lead up to Queensland Day, the 6th of June in 2021, we're going to be talking about symbols, particularly symbols of the city. And the symbol in front of us was incredibly important in the lead up to the Commonwealth Games and World Expo 88, and it was actually made by Colin Lonza. This is not exactly a story about Colin, but he does feature incredibly importantly, and here's why. Maritime YouTube channel, and we're here to talk about symbols in the lead up to Queensland Day, the 6th of June 2021. And the story behind this symbol of Queensland, the coat of arms, is quite amazing, as is the artist, Colin Lonza. Now, you saw a few minutes ago where we were in front of one of his other major works, the Brisbane coat of arms. Colin created this particular coat of arms, and it is actually made of fiberglass, a bit of timber, a bit of metal. You'll see in some photographs that I attach around this particular part of the YouTube how it was made. This is the third one that Colin made in 1979, and it is actually to go in a jig that is then a mechanical router follows, and out of that results a bit of timber that's carved roughly along those lines. And then Colin spends many hours doing a final proof. But the story of the coat of arms is even more interesting. Is up here some metal antlers. What we have here is a timber base of a crest that has the finer detail. Over here we have a bit of hardwood and a wedge attached, and the whole thing is held together by arrowvite to the 2-pack epoxy glue, and so the bits and pieces have all been put together. And I just wanted to do this YouTube before I handed this over, because obviously it will go on the wall in the appropriate position to be looked at and marvelled at. But the back tells such an interesting story. Thank you and good morning. Now, being that the video is about Queensland Day, you obviously couldn't get more Queensland than the Lucinda, and this is an amazing model. It was built for the Queensland Supreme Library. They've entrusted it to us to look after, and obviously you can see that behind it is the Queensland flag. And the reason why the Queensland flag is flown behind the Lucinda is because the two are so intricately linked in relation to the history of Queensland. So good morning. We've just come into the Lighthouse Gallery. It's one of my favourite parts of the museum, and I'm here with Nicole, one of our new keen volunteers, and Nicole has a passion for lighthouses as well. And she's just come back from one of Queensland's most significant lighthouse locations. Nicole, tell us of your adventure.
A few weeks ago, my husband and I went to 1770s so that I can visit one of Queensland Lighthouse at 1770, Buster Head Lighthouse, which I have on my list to visit for some times. And we took on the Pink Lark adventure there, and it's one of the amazing lighthouse with the great history, beautiful lighthouse to visit.
And you're going to write a story, I understand?
Yeah, I'm going to write my adventure and put in one of our Maritime Queensland Museum about lighthouse.
Nicole, thank you so much for that. You are a wonderful volunteer, and the organisation couldn't function without the hundreds of volunteers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, moving on with our Queensland narrative. Here is a rowboat, and this rowboat competed in a cross-Atlantic competition. It came second. 2 doctors, one of which has since passed away in a tragic helicopter accident in Bougainville during peacekeeping work. But how amazing is it that Queenslanders rowed across the Atlantic in a competition? Quite incredible. The last remaining river-class frigate in the world, made in Queensland. It's where the last 2 peace treaties were signed by Japanese forces. World history on a Queensland-made asset. So here we are in the Bullawal Lighthouse. This is a uniquely designed Queensland lighthouse. Primarily, Queensland utilised the locally sourced hardwood. It's survived incredibly well. And another example is the Busthead Lighthouse that Nicole spoke about previously. Really quite an amazing little bit of Queensland history on site here at the Queensland Maritime Museum. So in our last little segment of Truly Queensland, here we are in front of the Pink Lady. A ship sailed around the world by a Queenslander to set a world record for Queensland, supported by this amazing group of sponsors. An amazing Queensland story, all up, is to be found at the Queensland Maritime Museum. Thank you and good morning.